Mitch here. Going to be reviewing this Cold Steel SRK for you tonight. One of my favourite knives of all time. Hope you like the review. If you do, like, comment and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. Thanks guys. Cold Steel SRK stands for Survival Rescue Knife. I've had this knife for about 4 years now, and it's been with me as a constant companion on all my camping trips and pretty much everywhere I go. Now it's a 6-inch blade from guard to the tip, but it's actually got a 5-inch cutting edge with this kind of finger choil here, which is really good for your fine carving tasks and everything like that. Now it's 3/16 of an inch thick. For a thick blade, it actually is quite thin down on the tip and on the edge. And that's because it's a saber ground profile on here, and from the factory it came pretty sharp, but I decided to reprofile the blade, as you can see there. Now it's got a craton handle. It's kind of checkered with these little dimples and ridges, and it sits well in your hand. It really isn't going anywhere, especially with your stabbing or anything like that. As you can see on the tip here, I've done plenty of that. Now it's got a little lanyard hole at the back here, which is really helpful. If you need that, then that's there for you. It's a clip point design blade, and that comes down to a fairly fine tip. Nothing that's going to break on you. I must have batoned through hundreds of logs with this knife, and the steel itself, what really matters, is still going hard. A quick story for this knife. When I first got it, Matt and I, we'd seen Cold Steel on their website saying, you know, absolute proof. This knife can do this and that, and we thought we'd put it to the test, so we threw it at trees, punctured it through a corrugated iron fence that I have here, threw it down a gravel driveway, treated it like shit really. Back to the story of me with this knife. I actually lost this in a river whilst I was camping. Stupid move, I know, but I was cleaning some pots in the river, and once I got back to camp I realised it was gone, and by this time it was already night, so here was me thinking it was lost forever. I'd only had the knife for like 2 weeks or something, so I was feeling pretty shit about that at this point. Went back 2 days later, found this knife somehow with the sheath still attached, and absolutely no damage to the knife itself. A little bit of kind of tarnishing on these rings, I think they are brass or something, on the sheath, and a tiny bit of rust on the actual bolts that connected in there. So if you're going to get this thing wet a lot, and I mean a lot, then just maybe you want to chuck some oil on that, and you'll probably realise that these won't stay black forever if you're actually going to use this knife. My uncle actually owns one of these. He's a bit of a crazy kind of Irishman, and he's punctured through car bonnets, and he's punctured tyres with these things, slid open car doors, like almost like they were little tin cans and stuff. It hasn't damaged it at all, so at least I know it can handle it. The things I've done with this knife, and the things that kind of Matt's done with his, and we realise we shouldn't be doing that with a knife. Knives are really meant for cutting. When we see people chopping and stuff with knives and doing things like that, we think, you know, you're meant to be cutting with it and not chopping, but if you need to, then this knife is perfect. It's kind of got a bit of heft to it. You can choke way back on it, hold it there, and go for it. Personally, I've chopped lots with this thing, just to see if it can really. Usually I'll go for something more like this condor if I need to chop something large, just because of the extra weight. It's made for chopping. Sheath, it's got a little drain hole here, which is extremely useful for if you're going to go through rivers, do things like that. Also, with it being Kydex, it helps when you get it wet, because, you know, leather sheath is going to get all swollen up and ugly and all scratched up when you're going through the bush. I mean, this has got a bit scratched up, but I don't know if you can see that. It's nothing major. Now you can reverse this belt loop to be left hand or right hand carry. You just undo these little screws here and flip it around. It's exactly the same on the other side. But yeah, this belt loop's quite nice. It fits on pretty much any belt. I don't think you could find too many belts that are wider than that. This little clip here, retains the knife nicely. I'll just show you that quick. Really clips in there. Stays there. Mine's developed a bit of a rattle because of all the use, but if you hold it a little bit, or if you strap it to your leg, you don't hear anything. Now to get it out, you've got this handy little ramp here for your finger. You can just press up against that and it pops right out. Now you can't actually attach this to any molly attachments or anything, but if you have a bit of ingenuity and some paracord, I'm sure you could find a way of doing so. The back of the spine is really good for striking fire steels. It's a perfect sharp 90 degrees. You can also use this quillion kind of, this little choil by the guard here, but I wouldn't recommend that because you could slip onto the blade and ruin your edge. Yeah, it strikes really well, and I've started most of my fires with this knife over anything else. Now this SRK is a full tang construction. What I have here is a Cold Steel blank, which is essentially what they make the Cold Steel SRKs out of. As you saw in the intro, they're the same length and everything, and just without the saber grind, and obviously is unfinished. But I just thought that would be a good illustration for you guys to see how fat the tang actually is. It's not anything like a true full tang, I should say, that you can see, you know, at the bottom and then all around the edges. Don't think that's a problem, because personally I don't think I'm going to break through 3/16 of an inch of steel that's that thick there. Now onto the topic of edge retention with this Oz 8 stainless. This I thought would actually be a bit of a bitch in terms of sharpening and keeping an edge on there, but it's held up as well as 1095 carbon steel knives that I have, and it sharpens up really easily. Got a hair whittling edge on here, and I can make feather sticks out of human hair with this thing. So that's always good to have, because if you can feather stick hair, I'm pretty sure you can feather stick a bit of wood. This finish, which everyone complains about from Cold Steel, and as you can see, it does come off, and you have to expect that. It doesn't come off super easy, but from batoning and stuff, as you can see in the midsection here, it has come off quite a lot. Here, where I've done most of my fine carving, down in the lower section of the blade, it actually hasn't come off too much because I haven't been putting too much force in there. As people were complaining about this kind of clip point with a sharpened swedge on there, they say it chews up their baton sticks and all of this, but if you're batoning wood and you're out in the outdoors, and I'm pretty sure you can find another stick to the baton with. It really doesn't kind of chop through logs like some people say with this swedge. It just puts little dents in them. Onto the handle quickly, guys. It's got a kind of swell in the belly of the handle, and then it tapers back out on the end of it. Kind of comes back out towards the blade here, but that's really kind of helpful when you're, you know, pushing through a bit of wood or something and you're trying to pull back on the blade. Your hand does not slip off the back. I've used this thing whilst I've been, you know, wet, cold, blah blah blah, and your hands have no problem holding on to that. It's also kind of tapered out from the front, as you can see. It's got this little swell there. Onto using this blade tactically. You can use it tactically, obviously, very well. People say, oh, you need kind of a double sharpened edge dagger or this and that to use as a tactical blade, but I'm pretty sure getting stabbed with 6 inches of steel is gonna end whoever you are stabbing. Now, during my short time in the New Zealand Army, I saw a few of the corporals and one sergeant in there who actually carried this knife on their webbing, and that's just testimony to people actually using it out there in places where they are in harm's way, and, you know, actually using it as a tactical blade. It's not the best tactical blade, but as I said, you don't necessarily need it to have a double sharpened edge and serrations, gut hooks and shit like that. So it does everything well. It doesn't really excel at everything, which I don't think I'll ever find a knife that does. If you do, please tell me. Yeah, if you're using this as a tactical blade, purely as a tactical blade, you may want to look at some attachment options for the sheath, because it doesn't come with MOLLE attachments, it just has the belt loop, like I said before. Thanks heaps for watching, guys. If you want any other further reviews on any of this gear here, or any other gear that I have, my backpack, my rifle, anything like that, hit subscribe and we'll keep you posted with more videos to come. My apologies if it was a little boring. First voiceover I've ever done in my life, so yeah, I kind of had to fly by the seat of my pants a little bit there. Hopefully see you guys soon.